But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, and he said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you have to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. Matthew 1 verse 20 to 21. Hearing the voice of God. I think we have been able to majorly deal with hearing the voice of God in the Old Covenant system. And if you look at our series, at the end we highlight the requirement for hearing the voice of God. So I wish somebody could go through all those episodes and write down the requirements of hearing the voice of God. Can you look at this one? Joseph has an encounter with the angel of the Lord. This is angel Gabriel. Why did we include it amongst the hearing the voice of God concept? Is because this angel came to speak for God who was coming. So it's like Jesus, the God himself, was speaking through this angel. So number one, when you hear the voice of the supernatural or of a divine entity, key number one you will notice in your life is that the voice of God highlights your identity. Joseph, son of David, your identity. So the voice of God, when it comes upon you, the first thing that will become clear is your true, correct identity of your personality or existence. That's why you hear the Lord say, I know you by your name, or I have written your name on the palm of my hands. He is saying your identity is not strange to me. Number two, do not be afraid. The voice of God quenches the fear system. Joseph had resolved to distance himself from this lady because she had been found pregnant outside the wedlock. But when the Lord spoke, the voice of God spoke to Joseph. He told him, take her. Take her. So the voice of God will remove all the specimens of fear and doubts and all that. Number three, to take Mary home as your wife. The voice of God confirms eligibility and legitimacy of your spouse. Many people are married, but to those they are married to, you notice God is not actively participating. Why? Because from the onset, that marriage was not built on the communication of God. But when the voice of God speaks, that voice clarifies about your marital partner. So the voice of God identifies the person of your marriage. Yeah? If you are walking the voice of God, imagine that voice attracts the right spouse for you. You don't keep on trying this and that and that. Something else, if you look at this voice, it says, because what is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, the voice of the Lord is the one that gives beyond doubt, most clarified and authentic expressions of the unexplainable mysteries. This woman is pregnant, but she is still virgin. How now? She did not go to Aga Khan hospital and she was given the tube pregnancy. So she is pregnant. This is a mystery. The voice of God makes praying to you deep mysteries. Deep mysteries that cannot be explained through the proper psychological, technological, and medical systems. Philosophy cannot explain that, but the voice of God makes it plain. Why are you leaving her? She's pregnant. And the voice tells him that pregnancy is of the Holy Spirit. It became clear. So that is very important. Something else is, because she will give birth to a son. She will give birth to a son. The voice of God creates masculine energy, not feminine energy. She will give birth to a son. So the voice of God, when it speaks, it generates a masculine energy or power. That is very important. And you are to give him the name Jesus. The voice of God is the one that gives you a name or a title of purpose. There are people, they are just there. What is your name? Joel. Who gave you that name? But the voice of God delivers the name of power and of purpose. Because he says, because he will save his people from the sin. So the voice is giving Joseph the name, but this name is not an upbringing name. It is a name that speaks of the purpose of this child. That's why you need to hear the voice of God, because always the voice of God will give you a name of purpose. That is why you hear people calling themselves Hapame. You hear somebody calling himself Apostle, or changing their name, their identity names, the names in their identity cards. They change that name. Let's notice even nowadays, people are not calling their children names just for the sake of calling them names. No, because they have known names carry power and purpose. Name is a portal of purpose and power. So the voice of God is on. You remember even in Genesis 17, the Lord telling Abraham, you are to call that boy Isaac. And then Sarah is laughing, and they call the boy Isaac, meaning laughter. The voice of God gives you the name of power and purpose. How did Joseph position himself in hearing the voice of God? Number one, you can see it in verse 19. He was a righteous man. Righteousness. If you stand on righteousness, God can speak to you. Number two is that his righteousness speaks of reputation. He was guarding his own reputation or a good name. Number three is son of David, foundation, or a spiritual father or a spiritual cover. But here speaks of the foundation he was operating on. He called him Joseph, but the son of David speaks of foundation.